Three Philosophers by Brewery Ommegang from Cooperstown, New York is a Belgian quadruple ale with 9.7 ABV and 19 IBUs. Rich and complex, this tour de force is a glorious blend of elegant Belgian-style quadruple ale and authentic Belgian Kriek. Its malty depth and gentle sweetness are enhanced by a sparkling carbonation and a serendipitous touch of cherry.
Cheers!
Clink. That is quite a tasty.
That's so good.
Yes, big
So
fan
good.
of that.
Cherry really comes out.
Good recommendation there, Mr. Chandler.
Yeah. Today we're going to check out City of the Big Shoulders from Parallel Games.
Yes, we are.
City of the Big Shoulders is an 18xx style game for 2 to 4 players. You're taking on the role of a businessman who is out to make money in the world after the Great Fire of Chicago.
Right.
So, 18xx, right?
Yes.
You're thinking, oh my god, I gotta sit down for 2 days,
It's a long one.
play this game. No, plays in about 2 hours, probably closer to 3 if you're learning the game.
Sure.
But the cool thing is that this rulebook is nice and thin. Now I know, it's pretty hefty. 40 pages for a rulebook,
But for an 18xx game,
that's nothing.
that's not bad at all.
And there's not that many edge cases, which is good.
Right.
You're going to be buying and selling stocks of different companies.
Such as the Quaker Oat Company.
The Cracker Jack. There's even the American Flyer.
Yep.
The cool thing is that these are all actual companies, and on the back of each of these cards, there's actually a story behind each of them.
Yeah, full history of their claim to fame.
Yeah,
Which is pretty interesting.
Which is super cool.
Absolutely.
Super cool. There are 5 different phases in a round. You'll start in the stock phase. The stock phase is very, very simple. All you're going to do is you're either going to sell your stock or you're going to purchase stock. Each company has shares of their company that they can sell that are worth various different things. So you have a bunch of 10%ers, right?
Yep.
That's going to be the majority of your stock holdings.
Ooh, the big old 30%.
Yeah, you have the 30%er, which is for the owner of the company. And then you have a 20%er as well, which is a preferred stock.
Yes.
Now, as the stock market goes, right, the more of company you own, the better or the worse that you're going to do.
Right.
Next phase, you're going to move on to your building phase. Your building phase, we're going to be building buildings inside of Chicago. So these buildings will help the businesses of Chicago kind of revamp and restructure themselves to be able to hire workers, to be able to hire, get the resources they need, to be able to make improvements into their buildings and businesses. The buildings are all laid out here in this track, and you can see that each player has their own track of buildings. Whenever a building is used, the player who owns that building will get a particular bonus. You're going to take your partner and you're going to place it on a building that you want to use. Now, it is important to note that certain buildings are limited. So any building that does not have an infinity symbol on it can only be used by one person in a turn.
And if someone's there, you're out of luck.
Exactly. Different buildings will give you different things. So like you might get resources, you might get workers, you might get upgrades to your factories. Each company has a certain number of factories. Some factories are very simple. All they require one worker and a manager. Some factories require more workers. So in this case, it requires 3 workers and a manager gets you a bonus. Factories can also be automated. As we automate the factories, obviously we don't require as many workers.
Right. Industrial Revolution.
Yeah. So we're going to take our workers and we're going to scoot them over to the next factory because, we still like them.
That's how it goes.
Right? If we fully automate our entire factory, though, we can lay off all our workers.
Every single one.
Everyone.
It sounds a little depressing.
We're going to be taking our actions until everybody passes. Then we're going to go into the operating phase. The operating phase, we're getting close to the end of the year, and it's time to run our factories. We're going to purchase resources from the board here that we're then going to use to produce goods.
So during this phase, you produce different types of goods, such as food and dairy, dry goods, meat packing, and shoes.
Yeah. When you produce the goods, you're then going to take them and you're going to place them here on this here track, this demand track. As the demand track fills up, tiles will be removed from the game and resources will be worth less and less because there's just more of them. They're more plentiful out there until you finally are worth half of the cost. You'll also pay any dividends that you have. So you can either choose to pay dividends out to your stockholders, which includes you.
Yep.
Mind you. Or you can keep the money, put it back into the company to reinvest for the next turn. Finally, the cleanup phase. Very, very simple. There are 3 steps that you have to do, all listed out here on your player card. They are simply to grab all your workers back, refresh the demand track, which is clearly listed out in the rulebook. You'll also discard the lowest value capital asset here, and then refresh the pile.
After 5 decades, the game is over.
And the player who has the most money wins.
Now, it's important to note is that it's how much you personally have money.
Correct.
The money in your different companies doesn't count towards your total. I actually enjoyed this game a lot. I'll be honest, I'm not a money guy, and 18xx games scare me. So when I was first throwing this at the table, I'm like, ooh, this might be too much for me, but it's surprisingly fun, easy to pick up, and like I want to play it again.
Why do 18xx games scare you?
It's mainly just the convolutedness of it, the complication,
Okay,
and the amount of time you're devoting to the game.
Sure.
With this, I'm like, 2 hours? I have 2 hours.
Yeah, without a doubt. Mm-hmm. This is an easy game to learn, I feel. Since there's only really like 5 phases happening,
right?
The rules themselves are pretty simple to learn. Mm-hmm. The strategy behind it, a little bit more difficult.
Exactly.
But if you've played any sort of stock game or anything like that, like it'll feel very similar. Right. Even though it is a brand new experience, which is cool.
Yes, I do like how it combines all of this into such a small amount of time. I also like how the different companies, some of them have different abilities, so sometimes you'll have a more complex strategy than previous games.
Yep. I'm a big fan of the appeal track. So as your company grows in appeal, right? So as more people want to buy your stock, you'll actually go up on the appeal meter, and you'll unlock different things. So you might unlock a worker or a capital asset or your next partner.
Yes.
And what's really cool about the companies is that you can own multiple companies.
Yeah.
So, you might have your own companies competing with each other.
Diversify your portfolio.
I do really, really enjoy the demand mechanic. When I first read it, I was like, I don't understand like what's happening here, because you do this way, then this way, then this way.
Sure.
It was all very confusing. But once I figured it out,
it makes sense.
Total sense. Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And it's a good way to reward companies who go out and produce, and don't just sit on their money.
Right.
Exactly.
It gives you an incentive to take those risks.
Exactly.
The other thing I like is when we did run into those cases that were maybe a little confusing, the rulebook is pretty well written and easy to find the answers.
Yeah, and there's a whole appendix in here for every tile that you might run into. The components are great.
Yes.
I think the expansion adding in the card money is a huge upgrade. I wasn't a big fan of paper money.
Right. And the little wooden pieces.
Nice. Those are nice. I think it would have been fine with or without them.
My favorite piece is this first player token with the little choo-choo on it.
Yeah.
Choo-choo. I also like the name, The City of Big Shoulders, and how it has the poem written in it. And it's a poem written by Carl Sandburg, who's the most valuable money guy.
Yeah, he's worth $500.
500 smackaroonies.
Yeah. The capital assets are great. It's an easy way to upgrade your company, to give them a bonus, to maybe make resources cheaper, which is nice. The player boards are cool. They lay out everything you're going to need to know.
Which is very nice.
Yeah. I do think that there's a little bit more tomfoolery than normal, as far as locking players out of things that they want to do.
Yes.
Especially once the tracks get higher up, it really becomes a thing of, I know what you want. Mm-hmm. I'm going to prevent you from doing that.
Those are the things I enjoy.
Yeah. As I alluded to earlier, the components are great. There are a lot of components.
Yes.
But the box is pretty slim.
Right. Shoebox size.
It's a regular size box. It fits on the shelf great. All the art is great. It has this really cool like old school map of Chicago in the background, which is cool.
Very neat.
All the history stuff really gets me. That really rings my bell. So I think that being said, you want to get into our rating?
Yeah, sure. I will go first because I feel like I have the least experience with games of this nature. Honestly, when I went into it, I didn't think I would enjoy it as much as I did because, like I said, not really into stock or money-based games, and 18xx games are just not my cup of tea.
Okay.
However, with this, I enjoyed it quite fun. I'd like to play it again. I'd probably give it a 7.5 would be my thing. I enjoyed it.
Okay.
I would play it again, but again, it's just not my genre of game.
Sure. I would give this game an 8.5 out of 10.
Very nice.
The only thing there's two things that prevent it from going up to a 10 for me.
Okay.
One, it's an 18xx game. Not my favorite genre in the world, but that being said, this is 18xx Lite. And then secondly, is just I wish that the iconography was a little bit cleaner.
Yeah, I can see that too.
I do think that it is very good, without a doubt. There are just certain things that I wish were better explained, either on the player board or in the rule book. Now that being said, you dig into the rule book and you can figure it out.
Yes,
it's not a big deal, but it's that little extra oomph that would have taken it into the 9 category, as if some of that iconography would have been more clearly spelled out on the player board.
Because sometimes I feel like I like the use of the icons, and I generally enjoy games that do that instead of just a bunch of text. But sometimes there's some complicated things that would be easier spelled out than trying to transfer through icons.
Yeah. But again, 8.5. Pick it up.
Yeah.
Check it out. Have some Three Philosophers with it. Enjoy it. Enjoy it with your friends. Get like a 12-pack. You're gonna need it.
Yeah.
And sorry about that little trouble in the beginning. We're still new at this.
Yeah. I didn't know how to do this. I just pressed this button here and